Hey world, it's your girl, Sunnyside 55, and today I have another great topic. But before we get started, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Please share this video with women and with men, with anyone that you can, because this is a tragic, untold story. I named the video the original Big Ole Butt because maybe some of you all do not know where this theory or idea is coming from. Why women are fascinated with having big butts. Why men are fascinated, with a woman with a nice physique. Or why European men are fascinated with black women. Well, I'm here to tell you today about SARA Baartman. She was born in 1789 and she died in 1815. She was the first black woman known to be involved in human trafficking. She was nicknamed Hot to Not Venus by Europeans. Her body was publicly examined and exposed. And I'm here to tell you the story today. This was the first start of Europeans being so fascinated by black women. SARA was the first black woman where Europeans were so fascinated with her look. Okay? She was born at the Gamtoot River in Eastern Cape, which is in South Africa. She grew up on a farm with her parents, but her mother died when she was 2, and her father died when she was young, but his age or her age is not disclosed at the time of his death. She married a man from the Khoi tribe, and he was a drummer. They had a child that died shortly after birth. The child's name or the age of the child at death is also not disclosed. The information, I just couldn't find it out there. But at 16, her husband was murdered by Dutch colonists. Okay, so she had to be, less than 16, I guess, when she had the child. After her husband was murdered, SARA was then sold into slavery. She was sold to Peter William Caesar. He took her to Cape Town and she became a domestic slave to him and his brother Hendrik. Now, on October 29th of 1810, when SARA was about 21, she was actually 21 at this time, supposedly, now, remember, this is 1800s. She cannot read or write. She has been sold into slavery to these two people. But they have a guy named William Dunlop who comes up, and he's a friend of the Caesar brothers, okay? He comes up with this contract. He has her to sign this contract that she would travel with the two brothers to England and Ireland and work as a slave, okay? They would also be able to put her on her body on exhibits for public display. Now, I want to mind you at this time that slavery is abolished in Great Britain. So that is the whole purpose for the deception and the reason why they came with this contract, because we'll bring up this contract in a minute here. Okay. She will receive a portion of the earnings from the exhibitions, and she will be allowed to return to South Africa after 5 years. But, it's always a but. We all know who we're dealing with, okay? At this time, she's literally dealing with massa. So we know this whole contract is a fraud. The whole contract was a fraud, and she remained a slave for the rest of her life. The first exhibit of SARA was in London in the Egyptian Hall at Piccadilly Circus. Wow. Whew. On November 24th, 1810. So she was publicly displayed, naked, of course. We know they didn't display her in a dashiki, but she was publicly displayed at the circus, okay? Now, British abolitionists charged Dunlap and the Caesars with holding SARA against her will. But the court ruled against SARA after the contract was produced, signed by SARA. Okay. that contract that they came up with, they knew that they would need that contract one day, and that was the day. Sarah also testified that she wasn't being mistreated. But of course, I mean, she maybe didn't even understand what mistreatment was, or maybe was afraid. But whatever the case was, Sarah told the court that she was not being mistreated, even though she was enslaved and she was being placed on public display. Now, just as a lot of court hearings do, this court hearing drew large crowds, mass attention throughout England. Okay. So, her public exhibitions, her being placed on public display, drew more and more and more crowds. Okay. She was taken on a tour at this point. So she's no more at the Piccadilly Circus. Now they're going on tour showing Sarah's big old butt. Okay. She was taken from England and even all the way to Ireland by 1812. Now, in September of 1814, she was taken to France and sold to a guy named S. Rue. I'm not sure what the S stands for, but he was an exhibitor who showcased animals. He put her on display in and around Paris. Okay. He also allowed her to be sexually abused by patrons willing to pay extra for extra services. Okay. So this is ideally, even prostitution. We got sex trafficking. We have all type of things here. And this is very disturbing world. This is so disturbing. And it's upsetting. And this story is not out there. That's why it's so important that when you hear this story, that you share it. Because again, it's another attack, and it's another shameful thing done to our people. Okay. He became rich due to the public display and due to them being so fascinated with her body. So this man literally became rich off of people just coming up, gawking at her body, wanting to touch her inappropriately, and I'm sure even, wanting to have sex with her. Some of these men were so lustful that, these are Europeans, okay, Englishmen, they were so lustful that they, and I'm sure they had wives at home or husbands, wigs and stockings was definitely in effect for some of these Europeans and these British at the time. But I'm sure they had a significant other at home, but they would love to come and pay to see Sarah's body. She died in Paris. Yeah, Sarah died December 29th. Of 1815, and she was 26 years old when she died. The causes were unknown. I'm sure they probably didn't do an autopsy or care to know, or you never know what type of punishment was inflicted on Sarah at the time, where she basically just didn't make it. Okay. After her death, her body parts would go on display at the Museum of Man in Paris to support racist theories about Black people. Okay. The fascination continued in her death. Do you hear me? The fascination continued in her death. They were so fascinated by her body, by her butt. Okay. That even when she died, instead of just burying the lady, they said, okay, we're going to take her to another museum and put her up. Because sick people want to come out and look at a dead person's body. If Dr. Miami would have been around this time, I'm sure he would have been rich, or any other doctor that's doing BBLs. Because, you that fascinated with a butt that even when she died, you wanted it? Her body parts remained on display until 1974. That's 207 years ago from 2022. Okay. This happened 207 years ago. Now, 1974 wasn't that long ago. And here it is. Some of us was born after 1974 or just shortly before. But for 159 years, her body was placed on display. So like I said, we just 207 years now. That means that was, not too long ago. It wasn't that many years ago. And in 1994, Nelson Mandela, just tired of it, okay, formally requested that Sarah's remains be returned to South Africa. But guess what, world? They didn't return them to 2002. He requested in 1994, and they returned them 8 years later. I'm unsure if they stayed on public display until then, but I'm sure they wanted to make $1 all the way till the end. But her remains were returned on March 6, 2002, and she was buried in Hankey in the Eastern Cape province. This is a sad, sad story, world. And I bet some ladies out here, if you knew where this big old butt theory came from or the fascination came from, would we as ladies still go get BBLs? I mean, maybe we would. The world we living in, people living in today, we're not thinking about the past or the future. But I wanted to share this story today because I think that it can touch a lot of us. And I think that it's some information that's well needed. Some of that underground education that I'm coming to you guys with. And like I said, just stay tuned. I'm going to come with more videos with hidden knowledge, more videos uncovering things that need to be uncovered, hidden knowledge. Okay? Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if any ladies would like to, please leave me a comment. Let me know, give me a thumbs up. That, hey, I like this video. I wanted to know this. I want to share it with someone, Leave me a comment. And fellas, do the same. If you feel like this was a needed video, some information you needed to know, why, men of other races or gawking over your woman or likes that your woman has a nice behind, now you know why. Now you know who was the original. SARA Baartman. R.I.P. Sarah.